Welcome to Archery Talk 101 podcast, your guide to better archery skills. We'll bring you the latest tips, tricks, and expert advice, but that's not all. We'll also have interviews with top archers and industry professionals and reviews of the latest gear and equipment and much more. Hey, my name is Roy Canterbury. I'm going to be hosting Archery Talk 101, and we have a special guest online with Trey, and he's got some interesting stories, and he also has the Saddle Cartel Facebook group. So We'll find out what that's all about. Welcome to the show, Trey.
How you doing, Roy? It's good to be with you.
Yeah, nice having you on, and like all these shows, they're always fun and exciting, and we learn something in all of them. And so introduce yourself and let us know something about you.
So, my name's Trey Baxter. From Central Oklahoma. And man, I've been a lifelong bow hunter my whole life. Just pretty much love everything about archery and the aspects of it. It's something I've been passionate about for a long time. And I was a big compound hunter most of my life. And just about a year and a half ago, I switched over to the traditional side and kind of went full stream with that, and have been down many rabbit holes since I joined that side, and I got over to that side of the trad world and decided that that's where I'm going to stay for as long as I can, and haven't picked up a compound since. So, it's I've got some I was hunting with a compound, early on in my life, and I harvested a lot of animals and stuff. And, I kind of got to that point to where it just was kind of a little different for me. It wasn't that excitement I was kind of losing that excitement. And I was thinking, man, what am I doing? Why am I doing this if I don't get excited? I think every hunter tells themselves that, if I don't get excited about this, why am I doing it? And so I went, man, I gotta figure out a way to kind of light the fire again. And picked up a trad bow, man, and haven't looked back, and the first time I actually took it out this last season and hunted with it, I seen two pretty nice bucks, and they come up out of this creek, and first thing I thought was, where's my compound? So immediately I went, what am I doing? Why do I have this? Why do I have this? This is crazy, because with today's technologies and the bows and stuff like that, man, I mean, them compounds are reaching out there, man.
Right.
And so, man, I started shaking like a leaf, and, I didn't end up getting an opportunity that particular day, but I knew right then that's what I was missing. That's what I wanted to feel, was that rush again like that, and but I knew, I've loved shooting compounds to the point to where, I love tuning, and I'd go to the TAX, the Total Archery Challenge. I went to the Snowbird, Utah one, and we traveled over doing some other ones. But getting into the long distance shooting and stuff was a lot of fun for me, because I like practicing like that. But man, you take that aspect out and you put a trad bow in your hand, and it just, the adrenaline level goes up for me. And so I came home. I packed up all my compound stuff that I had and gave it away, because I knew I would want to go back to it. And I thought, I can always just, buy another one if that's not for me or whatever. So I loaded it up. There was a young man that was trying to get into doing some bow hunting and everything. And I gave it to him and said, here you go, man. And went down the rabbit hole of the trad world. So, and haven't looked back, So it's a lot of fun. I love it, When I started kind of with the trad bow, I had an old Bear Kodiak Hunter that my dad bought me when I was probably 13 or 14. Oklahoma has a big draw-in hunt here at an ammunition plant. So it's last year they actually killed a 200-inch deer in there with a recurve. And it's recurve only. So it's a very sought out hunt for people that are in the state, and people from out of state put in for it as well. And so my dad had bought me a recurve when I was a kid to use if we got drawed in down there. And how in the world I still have that. I don't know. So I took that bow, and that's what I hunted with last year. Stuff like that doesn't ever seem to stick around with me, but I managed to keep a hold of it. And I hunted with that last year, and I got into some hogs, harvested some hogs with it. It's a 45-pound recurve, and I had no idea what I was doing other than I could shoot it pretty good. I got to where I could shoot it pretty good. And I ended up harvesting, half dozen or so hogs with it. And I ended up shooting a hog at 11 yards on the ground. That was, man, my guess was 400 pounds.
Big one.
Yeah, we got some big hogs here in Oklahoma. And I look back on it now, it was 11 yards from this hog. And I look back on like my setup that I have now, and I think, what was I doing with that setup that I had? Now that was crazy, but it got the job done, And so after the season was over, I ended up harvesting an 8-pointer, not a real big deer. But it was dang sure a trophy to me, probably the biggest trophy, because I worked hard for that deer, man, with the recurve. So it was a super nice trophy to get. And like I said, he wasn't a big deer or anything like that, but man, he was important to me. So, I'm not one of those guys that are going to say, hey man, sometimes I'm kind of back and forth. If I find a deer I want to hunt, I go hunt that deer. If I don't see a deer, I mean, sometimes it's about the story. Sometimes it's about the things leading up to that harvest and things that happen after the harvest, So I'm not one of those guys that necessarily, just says, hey, this is the deer I'm going to shoot. And if I don't get this deer, I'm not going to shoot a deer. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then guys that just want to fill their freezer, there's nothing wrong with that. I kind of go back and forth, it just depends on the situation and the scenario, So yeah, it's good stuff, So since the season was over, I've kind of upgraded my setup. I got into a DOS recurve, and have used some of these social media platforms. I mean, anything that I've learned about this traditional side of this has been through Facebook and these, the Saddle Cartel Facebook page and different Facebook pages out there, man, because I mean, I don't know anything. It's just crazy how much you can learn over the internet now,
Oh yeah.
And in these groups.
Yeah. You get in the right group, and man, they have a lot of good information in there, and they can really help you out. And that's the one of the things that we do in the Archery Talk 101 Facebook group is, we help you out. There's no advertising in there, so you don't have to worry about all these ads for all these stuff that comes in here. And if you're having trouble with your form, take a video and upload the video. Somebody's going to look at it, because we have archery instructors. I've been an archery instructor since '95, but I mostly concentrate on compounds.
Right.
I can teach you, the basics of a recurve or longbow. That's how I started out in the '60s was, recurve. And,
right.
And then there's people in there, they're bow techs. I become a bow tech in 2001 when I had my archery store. So, I know how to work on bows. Sometimes you have problems with your bow, just upload them. And, and that's where, some of these groups, not just mine, but, because I started that group as well, started this podcast and everything else. But, that's just the thing. It's like, get out in these groups and find out, if you're having a problem with your form and they say, well, practice more, don't listen to them, because they don't know what they're talking about. Because practice more. If you're practicing wrong, you're only going to get better at being wrong.
Right. Yeah. So and that's true. So when my dad, he managed to, so he taught me how to shoot instinctive first. So I kind of had, so I wasn't just raw to the ideal of shooting instinctive. I didn't, I think a lot of archers come into, new archers come into where, they're learning to shoot with the sights and the stabilize, you know what I mean? But I learned how to shoot instinctive with a compound. So I shot fingers with a compound, looking at the arrow. And, I got started. I had a little Hoyt. I can't even remember, I just remember when I was a kid going into the archery shop, and they took it off the wall, and he said, this work. And it wasn't till probably my third bow that I actually had a pair of sights on it. And it was a PSE, I think man, I can't remember. It's a PSC something. I actually ended up harvesting my first deer with it when I was 13. And we was actually, so I just started shooting a set of sights and a release, but up until that point, I had never shot that. I'd always shot fingers. And we were walking back to camp. It was a real windy day, so my dad said, hey, let's go still hunt through this little bottom right here. We might catch a doe or something like that. So we put the wind in our face and we took off, and we didn't see anything. So we was coming back, and I actually started whistling, and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, camp's right there." I'd already took my release off and actually put it in my pocket. And I said, "Well, camp's right there. I could see camp." And he said, "Hey," he said, "we're hunting," And I said, "Okay, like there's camp." I mean, I could see the campfire. And about that time, a doe stood up, and I went, "You got to be kidding me!" And I was able to get an arrow knocked, and I took a shot at her, fingers. Like I said, I'd already stuck my release in my pocket, so I shot her. I shot her with my fingers, and she run right through the middle of camp. I mean, we had a blood trail that was 6 inches from the fire pit, and I mean, I couldn't believe it. And I was thinking to myself, that just goes to show you right there. You just don't ever quit hunting. You don't ever know. I mean, I could see the fire from where we was at. I mean, we weren't 30 yards from camp. Like I said, I was just walking through there whistling. I was done hunting. And man, that hooked me. That I was hook, line, and sinker after that with the bow hunting. I mean, it was all game after that, man. It was game on, So, and we live in a state where the deer population is a pretty good deer population, So we have some pretty nice game laws that allow us to harvest, and harvest multiple deer and stuff like that. So it's good. We're a 2-buck state. So, some guys, will use those 2-buck tags. Some guys won't. Me personally, I haven't filled 2-buck tags in a long time. I usually, if I feel one, it's just because that's the deer I was looking for, the deer that I happen to come across, So a lot of times I leave that second tag for, something that's really going to set me off, keep me in the woods longer.
Yeah. Well, here in Nebraska, we have you can get 2 tags each year that allow you to take a buck. Archery is always either sex, muzzleloader is always either sex, and then rifles kind of a little different in there. But they also have what they call the season choice tags, which is depending on the season. If it's archery season, you have to use archery equipment. If it's in rifle season, you have to use rifle equipment. And if it's during the muzzleloader season, which is all December, which is also archery, then you could use either muzzleloader or your archery equipment. And
right.
Those, they put out lots of those. You're not limited how many of those you can get. Once they run out, but they always have lots of them. So if you wanted 2 or 3 of them, that you'd be able to get them. I know when I had my store, they didn't really have a limit on them, and I know guys that would legally shoot 20, 25 deer in a year.
Oh, wow.
Because you could just keep getting, and they're 2 deer per tag, 2 antlerless deer. And you would get them, and they had an area that they could do that in. Like,
right.
I've never had an area where I could shoot that many deer out of it, but
yeah. So here in Oklahoma, we have a chance to bow hunt every day the season's open, basically. So we can bow hunt we start October 1 and we'll run through January 15th. Back when I was younger, there was a 2-week break before rifle where you couldn't even bow hunt. And then you could pick it back up. But now it's open October 1 to January 15th. And so you could harvest a deer with a bow, any of those. So I think that's another reason why I'm drawn to the bow hunting, is because, you can get out there in the woods, earlier, and you can stay later. It's just one of those things where you have an opportunity to spend more time in the woods, and, my dad, he wasn't, he was a really good hunter. He was a rifle hunter when I was early on, and he would bow hunt to scout for rifle season. That's kind of how he got into it. He would get in the woods early season, but it was only to scout for rifle season. And then when I got into, he started kind of seeing that bow hunting was going to kind of be the direction that I was going to go. He kind of picked up the bow a little bit more. And then, of course, we got into the competition side of it, and we started shooting, we started shooting a lot of 3D tournaments in the off season and doing stuff like that, really just to get out there. And, after that, he was actually hooked on bow hunting just as much as I was, so it was great because I always had we were good friends, good buddies, got along great, and it was always good to have that companionship, in your hunting partner, and so it was cool, man. So he used to shoot Matthews and I shot Hoyt. So it was like Ford and Chevrolet going back and forth, of course. So yeah, so that's kind of how we got into it, man. And we started traveling and shooting 3D. And I'll never forget the first 3D tournament I went to. I think I had a dozen arrows in my quiver, and I think he had a dozen arrows in his quiver. And when we left, back then you shot 30 targets. And when we left, I think I had 3 arrows, and I think he might have had 3, or 4. But we were going, oh my gosh, that was so fun. We got next weekend, we're going to go here next week. And man, it just, but we had to become better shots because we couldn't afford the arrows, So
Yeah.
they were going fast, So then it turned into, you'd only take 3 or 4 arrows in your quiver, it was no big deal, But like I said, I shot for a local shop here close to where I'm at for a little while as a kid. Shot some high country bows for them, and then later on shot some Hoyt bows for them as well. So, so I definitely have a little bit of a background in the competitive side, but it just kind of got to a point to where it kind of turned into work, and I didn't ever want bow hunting or archery to be that way. So I set it down and I walked away from it, and that was over 25 years ago. And I shot a few rounds after that with my hunting setup and shot better than I ever did because I was having fun. The score didn't matter.
Yeah.
I went from having a good time walking off the course with 3 arrows left out of a dozen to where if I wasn't 4 up, I was upset, and I was like, man, this is not what it's supposed to be like. Let's rethink this, So I walked away from it for a little while, and just up until recently this year, I kind of stepped back, and I have to be careful because I will let competition consume me, and I mean, I'm just like anybody else that gets into it, so I've been shooting some of the tournaments online, the Archery Abroad online tournaments,
Yeah.
So I've been shooting a few of those, and then I've been shooting a few fun rounds at the 3D course and stuff like that. I haven't just dove off in it yet, but I've been shooting that with my trad setup, and stuff, and I think kind of what got me into that was just seeing some of these guys getting out there and doing it on these Facebook pages and stuff like that. And I thought, man, I'd like to try it out. And two, I felt like last year when I was hunting with a trad bow, I'd work my tail off, man, and I would shoot and I'd practice and I'd practice and I'd practice, and I'd go hunting on the weekend and the deer would walk out there. And I mean, my famous last words to a good buddy of mine were, I'll never shoot high. I'll never shoot over the top of one, because that's just with the recurve, I just said, I'll miss low if anything. And I think I shot over the top of 3 deer last year. and so it was so devastating because I would spend hours practicing during the week, and working on things. And I was a pretty good shot. And I felt like I had pretty good form. I felt like at first I kind of started shooting instinctive, and then I went and I hunted and I had an opportunity, and I went, okay, I did not like that. I did not, because being a big compound hunter, I wanted a point of aim. I wanted something,
Right.
I wanted something had to tell me where my arrow was going to hit. So, I come home and I start reading about gap shooting, and I start reading about the different methods and stuff like that. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to start gap shooting. So I practiced for a week or so, and it's, hey, I've got some time off work. I'm going to go hunting. So I go get in the stand. Deer walks out there, and with that Bear Kodiak, the 45-pound bow that I had, the gap at 20 yards was like 20 to 20, right at 22 inches, something like that, you know? So I draw back and I'm like, right as I'm fixing to release that arrow, I realize, man, my arrow's like pointing at the ground basically. And I shoot over the top of this deer's back. And I'm like, what's going on? Well, then I start thinking, I start playing things back, and I realized, you know what, right before I let that arrow go, my mind would not let the arrow be that far off the animal. And I brought it up and shot over the top of the deer's back. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So my mental game was not where it was at, where it needed to be last year, you know, and it was always, I always had a pretty good mental game with my compound because it becomes second nature. But
Right.
with the trad bow, it's like reset. It's like reset everything, you know? And so my mental game was just totally off last year. And I struggled mentally, whether that it looked like that on social media or whether it didn't, you know, I'm not for sure, but you know, I'm always honest with everybody. And I get messages and stuff and talk with people on the Saddle Cartel page about hunts and stuff like that. And I mean, I actually talk with some of the members and stuff while I'm in my stand, and, you know, you know, I don't know that they knew that or what, but I mean, I was struggling mentally to really get it done. And, you know, like I said, towards the end of the year, I harvested a small 8-pointer, and, you know, that deer, that was probably going to be my last opportunity with my recurve. And because rifle season was fixing to start the next day, and I actually decoyed that deer in. And so I was in a spot, kind of in a little lane, and these deer would come check these acorns, and they were rutting a little bit, you know. So that acorn tree was 30 yards. Well, I thought 30 yards when I got in last year when I started hunting with a recurve. I thought 30 yards. Well, I can get efficient enough to shoot a deer at 30 yards with a recurve. Well, yeah, you can be a good shot with a recurve at 30 yards, but the first shot I took was underneath that acorn tree, and the deer wasn't even standing there when the arrow got there. And I was like, oh yeah, okay. Now we're gonna have to change something. We're gonna have to change this game up. So we're gonna have to bring it in some. But I knew that was a hot spot for does and bucks to check. You know, they'd cruise through there and they'd check the acorns out. So, but I could not drag them down this. I could not drag them down this lane because we were 30 yards off this acorn tree with a compound. You know, hey, that's a chip shot. You know, you can
Right.
make that shot with a compound, and not too much happened. But so I set a decoy up and drug him down the lane, and I got a shot at him at 18 yards. You know, and but you don't know how many guys out there that I talk to about, hey, you know, how you doing this? How you doing that? You know, and so I was able to get him. And like I said, I kind of redid my setup after that and started kind of learning about how to shoot a fixed crawl and, you know, different methods of doing that. And so that's kind of what I'm doing now is I'm shooting a point on fixed crawl at 25 yards. So at 20 yards, I'm about 6 inches low. So my gap is really only a foot. And then when I back up to 30, I'm just probably on the top third. So my gap is only about a foot altogether. So my point of aim is always on the animal. And that has helped me tremendously as far as looking at what I'm seeing from being a compound guy and being like a hard aimer, you know, that's knowing, hey, put the arrow there, that's where it's going, you know. So that's been huge for me to go to that method.
Yeah, there's so many different methods out there that I know the first time I heard, actually I went out to Jake Kaminsky's site, but I found him somehow, and he's, you know, trad shooter, Olympic shooter, and he's talking about a string walker, and I was like, what's a string walker? Is anything, yeah, anything
Yeah.
like the skinwalker out of Utah or something? But you know,
Right.
so I listened to his stuff and try to figure out what it was, and then I've had a couple on here that actually do that and explain this, like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I always figure when I have, because I started out with a recurve and shooting instinctively, you know, no sights, no nothing, just fingers, and you know, I didn't use the arrows or reference. And so when I grab a recurve, that's how my mind is thinking. I'm not thinking about pants. I grab my compound and, you know, I'm thinking, you got the pins, got an anchor point, got the kisser button, got the peep, and got everything all lined up. And so my bow fishing setup is not a compound because I couldn't shoot them anyway.
Right.
It's different mindset, and I just go through a different mindset. But I don't shoot my compound, my recurve that much. So I just I've kind of lost the good skill I had of hitting what I'm shooting at. But hey, and pick it up, and something you can always learn back again.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think it's important, for an archer to kind of set goals for himself every season, I kind of, that was me. I just kind of, every year I think before the season, hey, what do I want to try to achieve this year? And if I've got a 150, 160 inch deer running in my place, then, my goal might be, hey, I'm going to harvest that deer, or, if I'm, so here a while back, I got to, I was gifted back a bow. My dad had passed away a few years ago, and I was gifted back a bow that he had. It was probably, oh man, I think this Matthew was like made back in like 1996. It was like the second one I think that they had made, second or third year they were out, and he had given it to a gentleman, and he gifted it back to me. And we fell in love with archery so much that 2 weeks before my dad passed away, he said, hey, go put some strings on that thing and get some sights on there for me, and I'm going to get back in shape, and I'm going to start shooting the bow again. And so I did, and he never made it that point. But so I took that. One of my goals was I was going to go out and I was going to harvest a deer with his bow. And this, I think, like I said, it was 1996. I think that this particular Matthews came out. And I was able to go out and get my saddle and set up and harvest a deer with it, and I thought, man, that's cool, And so last year my goal was, to get one with a recurve, and then I was going to try to harvest one with his bow and then my bow. But then so I started out with the trad bow, and I realized, man, this is going to take the longest, so I kind of abandoned that and just said, hey, I'm just going to go with the recurve. But from year to year, you don't know what I'm going to do, as far as just trying to keep it interesting, So,
Yeah.
It's, and that's one thing that the saddle hunting does, I know there's guys out there that are strictly, hardcore saddle hunters, and that's all they do. Me, I like getting in a saddle, and I like saddle hunting. And I was the guy that tried not to like it. I tried not to like it. And, I was a big stand hunter, and I had a good friend of mine that introduced me to it, that I actually hunt with still today. And, he's like, hey man, you got to check this out, and I was like, man, what are you talking about? I was like, you kidding me? I was like, I ain't doing that, and I started off, just like a lot of people, man. I found an old Hawk Helium saddle and platform, and I started off as cheap as I could, and to try to get into it and see if I liked it. And I realized real quick that it was definitely a tool that I needed in my arsenal. You know what I mean? And so I'm fortunate enough that we have some private ground here in Oklahoma, and so we had ladder stands set up, we had platform stands set up, but what we started noticing, we had those stands set up where we would take the kids hunting, and we knew they were going to see deer. They knew they were going to have an opportunity, but we caught ourselves, graduating away from those and getting more into the saddle hunting to be mobile. And, there's all kinds of ways to do it. It's personal preference. You could stick up a tree, you can one stick, you can, have multiple sticks with aiders, different platforms, it just kind of depends on how you do it. So with me hunting private ground, weight is not necessarily as big an issue as it is with some of these guys that are going into this big public ground.
Right.
And they're going miles back in there. They want to be as light as possible. With me, and I have some stuff that, that I use for stuff like that when that opportunity arises, but, weight's not definitely not as big an issue for me as it is for those guys. So I set up a little bit different, sometimes I will just I do a lot of presets. I pick up, platforms throughout the year, different brands, different models, and what we'll do is we'll go in and we'll do a lot of presets. And so that way we've got just basically our platform, like a podium platform. And we've got, 3 sticks with maybe a single aider on them. So we're getting, where we're at, we don't have to get any higher than 12, 15 feet, just where the canopy's at and stuff. So we don't have to get super high. So we'll set up that, we'll scout late season. Like me, I know I've got 3 spots. I do a lot of scouting in February, March, after the season's over. So I'm ready to go come August, stuff like that. I try to get everything done and out of the woods by September, mid-September, and kind of give it a rest. And it just depends on what I've got on my place and what's coming through, if I get started early October or not, just kind of depends. But like I said, and then I kind of have a 1 stick setup that I use for when I'm chasing acorns or when the rut starts and we have a little pocket of deer. If we have a little pocket of deer that's hitting this spot over here, maybe the neighbors put a little pressure on them over here and they've kind of changed here. Instead of breaking down, a full setup and everything, we'll just use a 1 stick, and we'll just use that. Just use a stick with 3 aiders, cam cleat, and just use 1 stick to stay mobile. Just kind of depends. There's many ways to do it, and that's what's so cool about it. And don't get me wrong, and I think if anybody told you different, they'd be lying to you. But if someone says, hey, you're going to go over there and kill a 180-inch 12-pointer over there, but you got to set in that ladder stand over there, nobody's going to say no.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, I'm not against that kind of stuff. And matter of fact, this year, I'm actually going to use a kind of a hybrid setup. So that was one thing that I noticed hunting out of my saddle last year with my recurve was that it's different. So with a compound, that's a little bit more forgiving in the saddle, but hunting with, so I could practice. So in my practice range in my yard, just for convenience, I have a ladder stand set up. And so, sometimes I'll go up that ladder stand and I'll shoot, but then sometimes I'll put my saddle on, I'll go up and I'll clip in and I'll shoot out of my saddle. Well, what I noticed with a compound was there was not much difference in the two. There was not much difference when it came right down to it. I could still make the shots I needed to make. But when I started hunting with a recurve last year, I noticed that the form part of it was so much more important, and a little bit of angle here, a little bit of angle there, it would kind of mess with you. So this year I'm gonna work with Out on a Limb Manufacturing, which is one of our sponsors for the X Team fundraiser that we're doing. But they're here from Enid, Oklahoma, where I'm at, just north of me, and they build mobile setups. They build the Big Bob 1 stick and the Slick Rick 1 stick. And of course, they build lightweight mobile stand setups, the Hush and stuff like that. But I'm going to work with them on trying to. They're kind of a custom shop too, man. They'll kind of modify and kind of do things that you need and stuff. So I'm going to work with them on trying to get a setup that's kind of a hybrid setup for me that will, I think, benefit me with saddle hunting with a trad bow. This year. So it's going to kind of be a hybrid, kind of a stand, kind of a saddle kind of setup. What makes it so for me, I want to take my strong side and turn it into my weak side, basically. So me hanging in the saddle facing the tree, my strong side would be to my left, being right-handed archer. Right. And so what I want to do is I want to be able to have a platform and have a situation where I can turn like I would be in a tree stand, but still be in my saddle, facing away from the tree. And then my strong side would be to my left. Does that make sense? It's kind of hard to explain. I've got this vision that I need, and there's some guys out there that are doing this, that are running these hybrid setups, and most of them are trad hunters, and I think that has a lot to do with the how critical your form is,
Right. Yeah. And so with the saddle, then you generally will face the tree.
Yeah.
So as you're facing the tree, right-handed shooter, off to your left is going to be where you're going to shoot. You're not going to shoot to the right. And you want to be able to
So
take with the saddle and turn around so your back is to the tree so you can shoot to the other side.
right. So with a compound, a weak side shot is fairly easy. And there may be some guys out there that can do a weak side shot, which would be on your left side. With compound. So a compound's for me, a compound's a lot easier to make a weak side shot. With the trad setup, I found that it's a lot harder for me to do that. So what I want to do is I want to be able to turn around and basically put my tether across my shoulder and face away from the tree like I would be in a stand. Kind of have the best of both worlds.
Yeah, because in the stand, if you have time, you just kind of turn, instead of being facing away
Sure.
off to your left, to come to the right, you can turn, so that you're standing facing that direction or a little bit further and go.
Yeah.
Generally, I try to set up so that I can go a little bit more to the left easier. So I try not to have right-hand shots, but, the deer don't always follow their script.
No, and that's one thing. That's one thing about the saddle is that, so me, I always, and people, not everybody likes it this way, but I like to set up where the deer approach over my right shoulder. Okay. And the reason why I like to do that is I like to stand. So most of the times, back in my younger days, before I started saddle hunting, if I was in a stand, I was on my feet. And so that's why saddle hunting has been so conducive for me, is because I like that anyway. And it's so comfortable. But what took me some learning was a huge learning curve. And I think this happens for everybody, was getting set right, is learning how to set that saddle, learning how to position it to where you had your strong side shot. So where you're more comfortable with the deer coming, instead of the deer coming from over my right shoulder, when I'm facing the tree, I need them coming past me this way. I mean, and guys do it different, because guys do feel comfortable in different ways, So it's, like I said, I mean, there's tons of guys out there, man, that are just super, super knowledgeable about it. There's all kinds of different ways to do it. Some guys feel more confident doing, taking a shot a different way. But when I started facing the tree in a saddle, the first probably dozen sets that I had, the deer played exactly to the script, but I didn't. So I was like, I'm set up backwards. I was like, what did I do? So it's a little bit of a learning curve, but man, it's definitely a tool that I think every bow hunter ought to have in their box, man. It's super, it's pretty safe when you start looking at it, because you're always attached to the tree, man. On your way up, on your way down, if you do it right, you should always be attached to the tree. So it's a pretty safe method as well, And some guys will sit all day. Some guys, they have single panel saddles. They have double panel saddles. They have guys that have back bands, that help, with the stuff like that. And guys that are doing stuff that spread your bridge, so you can, hip pinch doesn't affect you and stuff like that. I'm fortunate enough, man, that none of that really bothers me. So I get that. I get my tether, man, and I get my bridge adjusted where I need it to be, and man, I can sit there almost all day. I mean, it's comfortable for me.
Yeah, each one of us is, a little bit different what we like, and I know in the ladder stands and the hang-on stands, I prefer to do as much standing as I can. I'd sit, until about time, and then I'd stand, because you have a lot more flexibility. If you're sitting down, you only basically have a small angle that you can shoot at. Standing, you can twist at the hips and stuff to get those shots. And if you're sitting down, I did one sitting down one time, and didn't realize it was going to hit, but my lower limb hit the stand, and the deer was like 10 yards away, and I missed it by 5 feet low.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, what? And then I realized, okay, it hit. If it's standing, I wouldn't have done that. So
Right.
I like to stand, but as you get older, my knees don't like me standing for long periods of time in one spot.
I hear you. I hear you. I never thought I'd be saying that, but I hear you. That's like this Oklahoma heat, man. It's like about ready to kill me. It seems like I can't take it like I used to could, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I got into saddle hunting. It's been years ago, and like I said, I was one of them guys that didn't want to like it, but then when I got into it, I realized there was nothing not to like about it, that it was definitely something I needed. So of course, just like anybody else, I just got out on the Facebook pages and I started researching and I started looking and stuff like that. And it seemed like there was a lot of information scattered everywhere. And, so I kind of took that opportunity, man. And that's kind of where the group Saddle Cartel kind of came from. That's kind of where it was originated was, I was looking around out there, and I was like, I always had, if I was shooting a Hoyt bow, I had a Hoyt shirt, and I always liked to support, the guys in the industry and in the that are manufacturing the stuff, and everything. And I wasn't seeing a whole lot of saddle hunting apparel out there. And I was like, well, I was like, well, it just so happens that my wife, she owns a business that prints, that does custom printing and stuff like that. And so I just took that as an opportunity to kind of use that as a vehicle to kind of kick off the Saddle Cartel brand and apparel, and it originally just kind of started small. And I thought, hey, I'm going to put this out there, and man, at the end of the day, I'm going to have me some shirts and a few hats that I need or that I'd like to have, I be honest with you, I never thought that it would probably get out of Oklahoma. I thought, be some local guys that'll jump in there and it'll kind of take off maybe around here for a little bit. And, it actually took off more nationally faster than it did locally. It took off. I mean, it took off. It blew up fast. I threw some of my designs out there on some of these other Facebook pages and stuff like that. Some of the stuff that I did. And, I started getting messages on Facebook and all kinds of stuff. And I thought, man, okay, so I might have something here. So I started the Facebook page and kind of started posting up pictures there and stuff like that. And I'll never forget, man. Like the first week, it was like there was like 20 something members there, and now we're going to be bearing down on like 5,000 members pretty quick. So it took off. And what's been cool about the page and the group is it's just a positive vibe, man. You got it. To me, Saddle Cartel is the world where archers come together, bow hunters come together, and not just trad guys and not just compound guys. There's a great group of compound guys in there, because that's what I was doing when I started. I was hunting with a compound. And actually watching some of these guys join this Facebook page that were into the recurves and into the longbows and stuff is kind of what I was like, man, I want to try that, So that kind of influenced me to go the direction I did. And so then the trad side of Saddle Cartel was kind of born. And to me, it's just a great place where it's a great mix of people that are willing to help, positive vibes all the way through, man. And it's growing every day. We're gaining about 100 members, 150 members, every week, and it's going so much that I can't keep up with it, but what's cool about it is the relationships that have been built in this group. I talk to guys on a daily basis from across the country, and I'd never in a million years would have thought that I'd be connecting with bow hunters from all over the world like this. And it's super cool. Just kind of like what you do, you're reaching out with people from all over, it's super cool.
Yeah, I've got members in there from all over the world and countries that you only know where it's at if you Google map it.
Yeah, that's pretty neat, man. It's been cool to kind of see and talk to these guys on the page. When I first started it, I would just do everything on the Facebook page. And I didn't have a website or I didn't have anything like that. And I enjoyed talking to these guys every day about, and during their hunting, during their hunting season, hey, and kind of learning how they hunt, kind of learn how we hunt. And it's so different how so many different people hunt, across the country. And, I mean, I have built a lot of friendships, a lot of relationships. And I know people that, I know that they're talking to this guy and this guy, and they're saying, oh yeah, I talked to such and such the other day. And I mean, it's just been a really positive group, and it's really growing, and it's really cool. And, it was really just kind of made for a place where people could, advertise what they were doing and, have a good time in there. And they do, and it's been kind of neat this year because it's kind of morphed into, so here about August, September, it'll start kind of transitioning back more towards saddle hunting. And then in the off season this year, it really morphed into a archery page. It kind of was, like I said, the best of both worlds. So if guys are getting out and putting pictures of themselves out on the 3D range in their saddle cartel, shirts and hats, and, a good group of shooters, man. And so it's been cool that it's kind of dual purpose, so it's not just going to sit idle all year until the hunting season picks up,
Yeah.
It's super neat.
Yeah, there's so much information that we can provide and we can consume from the members in a group, like yours, or mine, where they have a lot of information, a lot of experiences out there. And that's the fun part, is trying to figure out what I can change to get a little better.
Right. Yeah. No doubt. It's, and that's one of the things, man, is that, it's, if someone's out there that needs help them, drop the advice on the Facebook page. I mean, I learn things on there all the time. I mean, I see guys that are using, they're using this knot, or they're using this rappelling device, and I'm going, okay. So I would say, that was kind of what started me down the rabbit hole. That's when I started going down rabbit holes, was with saddle hunting, because there were so many different ways to do it. And then that just continued on with the trad world. So, it just, it continued on with the recurve, I mean, just like the other day, I was out doing some tuning, which of course I have basically learned how to tune a recurve basically from these guys on the Saddle Cartel page, that I just reached out to and just said, hey man, look, okay, this is what I'm thinking about doing, Then I had seen them guys participating and offering information, to other guys. And I was like, okay, this guy's a big traditional guy. I need to reach out to him, and, and I took off tuning my bow, and I was going to really concentrate on brace height. I was going to play with brace height, that I was going to play with tiller, and did all these adjustments and did all this change, and boom, ended up right back where I started. I was like, well, why did I even do that? So it's just one of them things, but and saddle hunting is kind of the same way. You can go down so many different rabbit holes that it's just an ongoing deal. Sorry about that. You there?
Oh, yeah, we're here. Right, just watching you walk around your house. Yeah. For those that are watching, let's go ahead and bring up your Saddle Cartel Facebook page.
Okay, yeah.
And then we kind of go through this a little bit here and kind of tell us about it a little bit. And so we have, you've got shot of the week, X-Team fundraiser over here.
Yeah. So one of the things that we've been doing for probably the last month, is there's a local archery team here that is trying to go to Vegas, the Vegas shoot, and they go to indoor nationals, and they just compete. And so I'd seen that they were trying to raise some money, and I thought, man, this is like the perfect opportunity. This is exactly kind of what Saddle Cartel was built for, was to find ways to give back, And so we managed to be able to kind of correspond a fundraiser for them. And we've been doing it for about a month, and we have raised a little over, I think it was $2,240 last time I looked for them, for their travel expenses and stuff like that. And, you know, it speaks a lot to the manufacturers and the vendors out there in the saddle community, because when I started trying to put this together, man, I just reached out to a lot of the guys on the Facebook page that were, you know, in the industry and stuff like that. And they were all willing to donate stuff to the fundraiser. You know, we've got a custom gear modification saddle that's going to be up for grabs. And this package we put together is something that is going to one winner, the whole package, you know. We've got some stuff that is just dedicated for somebody in Oklahoma. If they win it, they're going to get a Oklahoma drone recovery, deer recovery with them. And then, you know, just all kinds of guys out there out on a limb is throwing in 2 trail camera swivel mounts. And, you know, we got so much stuff, man. We had a bow case that we gave away the other day from US Gun Totes. You know, I think so. Yeah, there's the flyer there. I see it there. You know, Whiskey City Trad Gear. They threw in a hipster quiver and all kinds of merch. You know, you had David on the other day. I mean, the support for this has just been overwhelming. It has been so cool. And we're actually going to draw the winner tomorrow about 6 p.m. Central Time. So we're going to do a Facebook Live tomorrow. And but if anybody catches this, there's a link there on the Facebook page, man, where you can go hit the GoFundMe. So yeah, they're pretty cool. And I don't have any affiliation with them or anything like that. I mean, it's a local shop here that I frequent some, and Coach Gail and Jeff, her husband, they have been in the game a long time. You know, when I was a kid and I was shooting 3D tournaments, they probably don't even remember this, but when I was a kid and shooting 3D tournaments, they were organizing stuff. They were in the game back that long ago. And, you know, it's all about giving back and doing stuff for our youth, for me. And so, you know, they've put their time in, they've done their stuff. They could say, you know, hey, I've given back, I've done this, and they're still going at it, you know, and they're still trying to give back to our youth. And I think that speaks volumes for them and of who they are as people. And, you know, so it's a good deal. And I just seen an opportunity to try to jump in and help them out. So, yeah. So we're going to, like I said, we've been super, super excited about the response that we've got for this thing.
Yeah, that's always good when you help out and you know, raise over $2,000. It definitely helped with a lot of travel costs to get all the kids down there and meals, and you know that's a huge expense when you have to go to these events and pay for them yourself, and you know it can add up.
I say it all the time. You know, when of course the archery classes and stuff that they have in school and everything. You know, I always tell everybody, if they'd have had that when I went to school, I might have went to school. I might have made good grades, you know. You know, like I said, we've got Serious Archery. They donated half dozen arrows. I mean, we've got Innovating the Outdoors that is donating one of their 3D printed. That's one of the big things in saddle hunting is, you know, 3D printed stuff is real big, bow hangers and stuff like that. It's all about getting that weight down. Vital Ground Outdoors, they're going to do some aiders and some rope mods and some PSHs. And, you know, so yeah, we've got, I mean, pretty much whoever takes this package home is going to have pretty much just about anything they need to get going in saddle hunting.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Get them all set up and.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And then, you know, we've had T&K donate a, bino harness. And, you know, I was actually in a stand, or actually in a saddle, and I was real disappointed in my bino harness that I had, because I had my bridge and I was struggling with it. And I actually jumped on the Saddle Cartel Facebook page and asked, hey, listen, let's talk about bino harness. And, you know, a lot of guys recommended the T&K bino harness. So I I jumped on, ordered one, and actually had a friend of mine pick it up at my house and bring it to me. And I got to use it that hunt trip. And I was like, where has this been my whole life?
Yeah.
I was super happy with it, and it just fit in my harness and stuff like that. I mean, it was good. It was, it didn't get in the way of my bridge. And I mean, it was a lot better than what I had. And I was a lot happier with my situation, So yeah, I mean, there's good stuff, man. TX5 Custom Saddles is throwing in one of their KISS packs. We announced that the other day, and we've been trying to kind of introduce, these sponsors every week or so, kind of trying to do stuff. And then what we've been doing is that we do that shot of the week, and there's some other groups that are doing stuff like that. But our shot of the week was, just we'd have some moderators. I have some guys that help me out on the Facebook page, man, and kind of help me out there. They would, they come up with a shot of the week, and, we'd take that shot, and then we would pick a winner. Whoever was the winner ended up getting 5 free entries into the raffle. So, so there's guys that were getting out and competing in that and doing stuff like that, This last one was you had to be in your saddle. It didn't matter. So, we did one out of a saddle. Some of them we did at 20 yards. Some of them we did at 50 yards. Compound guys were competing, doing it. Trad guys were doing it, and it's been a lot of fun to help them out. Like I said, it's this old crazy world, man. If anytime we can help our youth out, man, it's worth it,
Oh yeah. They like, a lot of them like to play, the video games, play the archery video games and whatever, the Wii's or whatever. And when you actually get a real bow in your hand, it's completely different. And the excitement you have when you shoot that bow and that arrow goes flying for the first time, and you come close to even hitting the backstop.
Yep, I agree, man. It's it's something that we just need to keep going, man. It's something, I feel like, every day, every year seems like, it seems like a little bit of our, freedom or independence is being kind of, it's kind of being taken from us a little bit. Sometimes it seems like, and that's the way to keep these kids involved and make them feel like they're free. And you know what I mean? I mean, it just gives you a rite of passage, man.
Right.
I mean, getting out and being outside and stuff like that, it's just, it's just a good vibe, man, for sure.
Yeah. And it does develop some skills that you can use, later in life, whether it's just, whatever, or, if things do go really south, us archers are going to be able to still provide food.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh
yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, the X team, I think they're comprised. They got 12 shooters, I think is what it is. And man, they have a list of accolades and stuff. And it's both, there's female shooters and male shooters and, youth shooters. And so tomorrow, like I said, on Facebook, man, you're going to get to see them. We're going to try to do a deal where we kind of go in and watch them shoot a little bit. They're going to have practice and stuff like that, and it's just they've got involved in the shot of the week and stuff like that. So it's been super cool, man, to watch them kind of get involved in it, So looking forward to doing the drawing tomorrow. And like I said, you can see, I don't know how many tickets are in here, but I have personally filled out every ticket for everybody that's donated. So it's going to be super exciting, man. So looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be fun. Watching you draw them. Get out there and okay, go through and pull. Okay, here's the winner.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. We've had some donors, and we've had some guys donate like $350. It's cool. It's been really, like I said, it's been cool to see the support that everybody's stowed behind this, man. And even some of these other groups, that I'm involved with, they've allowed me to kind of, post it up on their page and advertise it on their page and kind of, use their arena for a platform as well, not just the Saddle Cartel Facebook page,
Right.
Yeah. So it's super cool, that just the bow hunting world, the archery world, it's just, it's a tight knit family, and, whether you're compound, whether you're recurve, it's just, like I said, we're all in it together, man. You know what I mean? And like I said, I think it's important just for us to stick together as a group, just because, every day our sport, whether it's, just our sport is just kind of under attack, just something that we like to do, be outside and stuff like that, so we can't show division within our group. We have to be strong as one,
Right.
and back each other up. Doesn't matter what our method is of hunting, just as hunters in general, we have to just be good stewards to each other and to the land,
Well, a hunter, we send a projectile downrange to kill the animal.
That's right. That's right.
That's what you do when you hunt, or, trappers, they try and snatch them out of where they're walking, hold them up and get them that way. But, as hunters, we're out there, whether you use a rifle, a shotgun, a bow, a crossbow, we're all hunters.
Yep.
And we just need to make sure that we don't lose that ability. And what people don't understand is the fact that if there wasn't any hunting, there probably wouldn't be any animals to hunt, because they'd all die off.
That's right.
There'd be
That's
too
right.
many. They'd starve to death.
Well, I mean, I think as bow hunters and as, I think we're, and I think hunters in general, we're conservationists first, and that's, and hunters second, and that's what it's about, for me. And like I said, this platform that I've created and some of the guys that helped me create, man, it's just all about giving back and finding ways to, give a positive vibe out there, place for people to go. This is what I want Saddle Cartel to be about is, when people wake up in the morning and they think, man, they're thinking about a situation or scenario about, man, should I hunt this? Should I hunt this? Should I use this equipment or whatever? They want to go, you know what? There's low drama and it's a good positive place. I'm going to go check Saddle Cartel Facebook page and see what's going on in there and ask that question there, because I know it's going to be a good vibe. That's it. Just a place to give back, and not just me. It's a place for everybody to give back.
Right.
And there's a lot that goes on in there like that. I mean, it's a cool place. It's a cool little group, man. That has really taken off, man. It's just definitely exceeded my expectations. I mean, it's got to the point where this year I kind of fought it for a long time. I fought it and thought that I told myself that when I first started, I would never go to a website or anything like that. But we just recently launched our online store, and we're trying to we're building it as it goes on. Because like I said, as you've seen, I'm just not a computer guy, so it's definitely all a learning curve for me, and so I'm trying to get it going, because it's stuff's. I want to be able to get things to people more efficiently and stuff like that. So we did have to go to an online store, and I hope the conversations with the people, that order stuff doesn't stop, because, they'd message me and, we ended up talking for an hour about hunting or how their season was going, stuff like that. So I hope that don't stop, but I did have to launch an online store instead of just doing things on the Facebook page. We'll do some of our custom stuff. That if we have any one-off stuff, we'll probably do it on the Facebook page as well. One of our big items that we do every year is we do a state shirt. So we put the outline of the state behind the Saddle Cartel logo, and we'll do that. And so that's now on our online store. So one of the things with that is when the way it's set up is that when you check out, you just have to annotate what state that you want printed when you check out. I tried to put in like 50 options for all the states, and it like overloaded it. So
yeah, better have a pull down menu. It's like, okay, what state?
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely, yeah. So so it's just growing like crazy, man, and rocking and rolling, and just looking forward to this deer season, man. I mean, it's like I said, the page will kind of transition more back towards saddle hunting and stuff like that within the next month or so, and then man, it'll be full bore after that, man. And the weather start cooling off, and we'll start seeing harvest pictures show up on the page, and it'll be going, man. It'll be good.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a real good page going there, a nice group of people in there, and that's what you want when you have a Facebook page. You want it to be a theme, and your page is all about archery and saddle hunting, and mine is all about archery as well, and that's why it's such a good community. And some of the other pages and other groups, I got another group, and I have to constantly ban people from it because they're trying to post stuff that you're not supposed to, and I don't have that kind of restrictions on the archery page because I don't normally have anything like that. So when somebody comes in and the first post is they want to sell a knife or a shirt or something, it's like, no, you're not doing that.
Yeah. So I've got guys, man. I've got some guys that help me that are from all over. They're from all over the country, and that was one of the things was that when I kind of approached them about it, I was like, I mean, because the brand was really taken off nationally more so than locally, and I was like, why can't I reach out to these guys and ask them if they would help? They were involved early on and stuff. And so, I've got one guy local here. So Marcus Soka, he's one of the moderators on the page, and he's here about 3 hours north of me. And he's about 3 hours north of me. And can you still see me? Did I lose you?
Yeah, no, I can still see you.
Something kind of went weird on my phone. So he's about 3 hours north of me here, man. And this guy is a hunting machine, man. And he's big public land hunter, and he's big 3D shooter. He's on the range every weekend shooting, and he's out there every weekend hunting. And so
now,
he was
someone went sideways.
Oh, am I sideways?
Yeah, you're sideways.
Well, that's weird. I didn't do nothing. How about now?
Yeah, you're good now. You're
not good.
You're in the portrait mode, but yeah, that's kind of weird. You started sitting on the wall. There we go. Yeah, that gets you. Now you're sitting on the ground in a big picture.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
So that's weird.
I didn't even touch it. It's like I said, I'm not a tech guy. But yeah, and so then we've got Chris Grenier. He's from New Hampshire. He has a Facebook page that's New Hampshire, saddle man, I don't know what's going on with my phone. I lost track. But he's got a saddle page up in New Hampshire. And John Mabry, he helps us out, and we've got a guy up in Washington, Trevor Bruce. Them guys are all super good dudes, and they're super helpful on the Facebook page. I mean, they've helped me out tremendously. And so, having good people around you is important. And that's what I think that the page is all about, man. There's all kinds of good people around you, in that page. And so, I can't thank them enough, for taking me up when I asked them to help me out on this deal, so they've been great, man. So definitely enjoy it.
Nice to have another admin or another moderator on there to help you out with stuff. And especially as the groups get bigger and bigger, it's hard to monitor all the posts and stuff like that. So yeah, it's right now in the Archer one, it's just me. I haven't got anybody else on there, but in my other group that I manage it, I've got another admin and another moderator that helps go through all the stuff. There's just be so much stuff in there, and when you start getting a couple thousand, 3,000-4,000 people in there, it's tough to manage them by yourself. And
yeah, it is. It gets that way. It's and different people are on different time zones. That's really helped. Guys, they'll kind of handle stuff. Some of them are a couple hours ahead of me. Some of them are a couple hours behind me. So it's been great. We're going to try to the plans are to try to get together, and so the place that I hunt has a lot of hogs and stuff like that, so they're pretty invasive down there. And I posted a few videos after the season. I kind of try to go in and kind of try to clear them out, but it's tough to put a dent in them, man. But
Yeah.
I did some self-filming and stuff like that on some hog hunts after the season. And two, it was just kind of a way to extend my season with the recurve. That way I could kind of try to help gain some confidence and work on my mental game a little bit. So there's a few hunts that I posted on the Facebook page. So, we're kind of trying to plan on looking at having a, like a 2024 saddle cartel, maybe hog hunt, that we're going to try to put together, and Chris Grenier, he actually put in, he's one of the big trad guys on the page. He actually put in with the draw hunt here at the ammunition plant with me this year. And we didn't get drawn. I feel bad, but we're going to shoot again for it next year. I mean, I can't believe that we didn't hit it. And so, maybe next year we'll hit it. And, cause he's all about that stuff, man. He's all about the trad stuff and all about that. So hopefully he can get him down here and get him on a deer or something like that. If not, I'm going to try to have him down here as a group and, kind of show my appreciation and let them shoot some hogs, man. Some of them don't have hogs on their place and they're like, oh man, I wish I had hogs. No, you don't. No, you don't.
No.
Yeah.
Well, they'll take over, hard to get rid of.
I do believe that God said when he created the wild hog, he said, here you go, bow hunter. He said, have at it. This is for you, because they make you feel really good sometimes, like you know what you're doing. So yeah. So yeah, it's pretty cool, man. Archery's just been, bow hunting's been good to me, man. It's been a good place for me to be. Looking forward to a lot of years into it, man.
Yeah, I know you got to be heading out here real soon. What do you have in your parting thoughts to tell our listeners?
Man, just set those goals every year, man, and try to push yourself as a bow hunter. Try to push yourself as an archer. And definitely, if you haven't had an opportunity to sit in the saddle, get in the saddle. It'll change your game for sure.
Yeah, I haven't used one yet. They're just kind of a new thing out, and I'm going to have to check them out and see, because it might be an option in some places where you don't really have a good spot for a tree stand, and it being on the other side of the tree might actually be an advantage. Hidden more. Right.
Oh yeah. There's. But yeah, don't be afraid. Don't paint yourself in a box as a bow hunter. Don't paint yourself as a box, man. Be open to different ideals and different ways, and that's so some of the stories that you see out there and you hear out there and you hear about these guys, the way they've got after some of these deer and how they've outsmarted them. Some of those stories are just so cool, man. So these guys, they adapt and overcome to harvest these deer. And, that to me, that's really cool. And so don't paint yourself as a box, man. Stay open-minded and, that good things will happen, for sure.
Things are constantly evolving, just evolve with them. And that's kind of sometimes I think the fun thing is things changing and trying to do something different. I get bored if I do the same thing over and over. So.
Right. Oh yeah. And that's one thing getting into saddle hunting has done for me is it's kept it, I've hunted arenas and I've hunted opportunities that I would have if I wouldn't have got into saddle hunting. I've got an 80 acre plot, that we hunt and it backs up some more of our property. And there's one side of it that was logged years ago. And, you just never could put a stand in there. There was nothing really that was conducive for a stand or anything like that. And I've hunted it since when I started saddle hunting. I went, hey, you know what? I can get a saddle in that tree. I can't get a stand in that tree, but I can get in that with my saddle and boom, boom, boom. Next thing you know, it's like, hey, this opens up some more opportunities,
Right.
So yeah, just be open-minded, man, and don't be afraid to adapt and overcome. And like I said, if you haven't gotten to hunt in the saddle, man, give it a try. There's a lot of good ones out there. You just got to start somewhere and just kind of jump into it and get after it, man. And if you need help or anything, jump on the Saddle Cartel Facebook page, man, ask some questions, and those guys in there and myself will hook you up with whatever knowledge we got, man.
So, sounds good. It's been great having you on. I
I
learned a lot
appreciate it.
about the saddle and other things in there. And, I learn every podcast, I learn something out of them. And, I get to
Yeah.
hear some cool stories and, just talk about archery. It's been a lot of fun having you on. And, the more I talk to archers, the more I know that, hey, we're just one big family. And,
That's right.
if you want to have an immediate friend, just carry your bow around. The
Yeah.
bow hunter's going to find you and come out and
Yeah.
start talking to you.
No, yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
You
That's a good way to put it.
or wear a hat, that advertises, the bow. I have a couple of
Yeah.
PSE hats because I was a PSE dealer, and wear that. It's like, and sometimes nobody's gonna know what it is unless you're an archer.
Yeah.
It says PSE archery on it, but who's going to really read it? But an archer's going to see that PSE and know that, hey, you should have PSE, or at least
Yeah.
you did.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree for sure. Yep.
Well,
Yeah. And hey, man, I tell you what, before we go, man, like I said, man, if anybody, has any comments or likes or anything like that, man, we'll pick one lucky winner, man. And I'll send them a shirt or a hat, one of the two of their choice.
yeah, that'd be good. And how you want to do it? We'll go out to the Saddle Cartel and make a comment that you watched the show, or how you want to do it.
Yeah, that'll work. Just maybe, I tell you what, go to the Saddle Cartel Facebook page and mention that you watched the podcast, and we'll pick a winner from that.
Sounds good. And I'll leave a link in the description for the Facebook group. But you can always just type in Saddle Cartel and it should pop up. And those that were watching, you can see, you got a compound archer hanging off a tree.
Yep,
So you're in the right spot. Just go ahead and make a
That's
comment
right.
that you listen to us on there, and hey, get yourself a hat or t-shirt or something, and that'd be cool.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, for sure.
All right. Well,
Yep,
my name
that's
is
what it's about. And hey, and you guys out there, if you have a chance to mentor the youth and anything like that, man, take that opportunity. Don't pass it up, man, because they need it. Get a kid outside, get them outdoors, and get them involved, man.
Yeah. That's always get the kids out there and involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, my name is Roy Canterbury. I've been your host today on Archery Talk 101 with Trey Baxter on the line here, talking about archery and shooting out of a saddle. And it's been a whole lot of fun. And stay tuned for the next one. We got some more exciting guests coming up. So make sure you stay tuned and follow us.